There's a place in America where you can literally see Russia from your window. Not with binoculars, not on a clear day, every single day. And we're not talking about some distant blur on the horizon. We're talking about an island so close that Russian soldiers can watch you hang your laundry. Just 2.4 miles away. That's less than the distance most people jog in the morning. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Between these two islands runs an invisible line, the international date line, which means when it's Tuesday afternoon on the American side, it's already Wednesday morning on the Russian side. You're standing in yesterday, staring directly at tomorrow. Welcome to Little Diomede, Alaska, an island so remote that only 80 people call it home. And they're not living here by accident. They've been here for thousands of years, surviving on a chunk of granite and quartz that rises straight out of the Bering Sea like a frozen fortress. This island is closer to Russia than it is to any major American city. The nearest Walmart is over 500 miles away, because Little Diomede doesn't have roads, it doesn't have cars, it doesn't even have a harbor where boats can dock. And yet, 80 souls wake up here every morning, look across that narrow stretch of water, and see a country that was once connected to theirs. But now there's a border, a military base, and a silence that's lasted for decades. Getting supplies to Little Diomede is a logistical nightmare. For most of the year, the only way on or off this island is by helicopter, twice a week, if the weather allows it. And that's a big if. The Bering Sea is notorious for violent storms that roll in without warning. Fog so thick you can't see your own hand. Winds that can flip a helicopter like a toy. During winter, planes used to land on an ice runway between the islands. But the ice needs to be at least 4 feet thick and 2,000 feet long. Pilots would measure the ice with drills before attempting a landing. One thin patch, and the plane goes through. But even that's becoming a memory. Climate change has made the ice thinner, less reliable. So those plane deliveries are happening less and less. Now imagine living in a place where a bottle of laundry detergent costs $44.50, where a simple bag of sea salt will run you $32.50. There's only one store on the entire island. One. No competition. No sales. You pay what it costs, or you go without. So how do 80 people survive when the basics of modern life are impossibly expensive or completely unavailable? They do what their ancestors did. They hunt. The ocean is their grocery store. The Inupiat people have lived on this island for thousands of years. They survived because they understood something most modern people have forgotten. Nothing goes to waste. When hunters bring in a walrus, every single part gets used. The meat feeds families for weeks. The blubber becomes oil. The hide gets turned into rope, clothing, boat covers. Even the bones become tools. They also hunt seal, polar bear, beluga whales. They fish for crab. During summer, millions of seabirds arrive. Their eggs become a critical source of protein. This isn't romantic. This is hard, cold, relentless work that demands everything from you. And it's getting harder, because the island itself is moving. Scientists have measured it. Little Diomede is shifting at a rate of 2 to 6 centimeters every year. The permafrost is melting. Houses that have stood for generations are now at risk. But the bigger threat is the disappearing food. Walrus populations are declining. Seals are harder to find. The ecosystem that fed the Inupiat for thousands of years is collapsing in real time. And when imported food costs a fortune, losing your traditional food sources isn't just inconvenient, it's existential. But there's something else that makes Little Diomede even more fascinating. Because just 2.4 miles away, Russian soldiers are watching, always watching. Big Diomede sits right there, close enough to see individual buildings. But Big Diomede isn't just another island, it's a military installation. Before 1948, both islands were home to the same people, the same families. People crossed back and forth on the ice. Then the Cold War happened. The Soviet government forced every single person off Big Diomede. Families were torn apart, people relocated to the Siberian mainland. And the border got a new name, the Ice Curtain. Big Diomede became a military base, and the people of Little Diomede suddenly found themselves staring at a fortified enemy position. The Russians watched them, 24/7 surveillance. When someone steps outside, they're being watched by soldiers. Some residents have reported hearing gunfire, 50 caliber rounds during Russian military exercises. A reminder that the border is real and crossing it could end badly. In 1987, swimmer Lynn Cox swam from Little Diomede to Big Diomede in freezing water, a symbolic gesture for peace. The Soviets welcomed her. But it was a one-time thing. Since then, no one from Little Diomede has set foot on Big Diomede. The Cold War officially ended, but out here it never really stopped. And because of the international dateline, when it's Tuesday afternoon in Little Diomede, it's Wednesday noon in Big Diomede. You're literally looking at tomorrow, standing in yesterday, and staring at a future you can't reach. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the global average, and Little Diomede is watching it happen. The winters aren't as cold, the ice doesn't freeze as thick. The seasons the Iupiat have relied on for thousands of years are becoming unpredictable. The walrus are disappearing. They depend on sea ice to rest, but that ice is vanishing. Same with seals, with polar bears. The entire ecosystem is collapsing. The younger generation is leaving. Kids grow up with limited internet. They see life in places where you don't risk everything for food, where stores don't charge $44 for soap. And when they graduate, most leave. They go to college, find jobs, very few come back. And here's what's lost. The Iupiat language is dying. Only 8 to 10 elders speak it fluently. No written records, just oral tradition. When those elders are gone, the language might go with them. Little Diomede faces a countdown, not to disaster, but to a slow, quiet emptying. A gradual fade into history. So why does Little Diomede matter? Because it's a reminder of what we're losing. These are real people living at the absolute edge of America, closer to a foreign military base than to their own mainland, watching their food sources disappear, watching their language fade. The Iupiat didn't choose this border. They were here first, thousands of years before any of this mattered. And they're still here, still hunting, still speaking their language when they can. That takes strength most of us will never understand. But Little Diomede is disappearing. The ice gets thinner every year. The animals get scarcer. The young people leave. And one day, maybe in our lifetimes, Little Diomede might become another abandoned island, another footnote in history. Unless we pay attention, unless we remember these communities exist, that their stories matter. Little Diomede is a test of whether we still care about the forgotten corners of our own country. So if this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe to Storyground for more untold stories from the edges of our world. Drop a comment. Tell me what shocked you most. The prices, the Russian surveillance, the fact that you can stand in yesterday and look at tomorrow, because these stories need to be told. Little Diomede is still there. Right now, 80 people waking up to another day on the edge of two worlds. The question is, will anyone remember they exist?